I think that's it. Are we live? I'm making sure this is working. Haha! It is working. Hello, everybody. This is Amber from Pixie's Pocket, and I'm going to take a minute and share this around with everyone, and then we'll get rolling. Okay, so bear with me here. We're just going to take some time to get everybody in here before we get talking about cordials today. And alright, here we go, sharing it to Pixie's Pocket, posting it in the event page, and we're live. Join me. Boom. Alrighty, I'll be back checking comments in just a second, and we'll get started talking about cordials. So let's see here. Bear with me as I get it going. Hello! Hi Talon, I see you. I love you. Now there's a little bit of a delay on here for seeing comments and seeing people joining, so bear with me. Feel free to make comments. I'll try to answer them as I go. Feel free to share this around with your friends. Let's see. You guys are awesome. Alright. Hi, Talon. Let's see. Yay, minute 1 of my first live stream. Okay. So, an important part I forgot. I need to pour a cordial. Okay, I'm back. I'm starting off with the Pear Cordial from this fall. Ooh. This is the one I blogged about. My friend had a windfall of pears, and I got to make a delicious cordial and a vinegar from them. So cheers, everybody. Welcome. Talon's got a finger of Talisker from the Isle of Skye. Oh, that place is so on my bucket list. I really, really want to go there. Alright, so for everybody just tuning in, we're just getting a couple minutes for more people to get here before I start going into the details of how I make cordials, because there's lots of different ways. As many ways as there are people making them, but I've been really enjoying it a lot lately, and so do my Thanksgiving guests. I'm gonna be making a cranberry cordial. We drank up most of what I already had on Thursday, and let's see here. I'm going to keep looking around and checking for comments and things. Multitasking. Alright. So, as I said earlier, feel free to make comments and ask questions. If I miss it during the live stream, then I'll try to go back through them later and catch up on the ones I missed. And hi, Aurora. And all of these are going to be on a blog post with this video embedded, probably with all these chatty bits cut out. We'll see if I do that much video editing or not. So we've got a handful of folks here. It's a great start, and since we're 5 minutes in, I think I'm gonna get rolling on the cordial making, actual teaching part of this, and not just the standing in my kitchen chatting. So, let's see, are we still going here? Okay, it was hanging up for me. Hi, Chris. Okay, so if for any reason you lose volume or video or anything like that, please comment and let me know, just so I can keep up on the stream. So, so firstly, cordials. Why would you make them? It's because they're delicious. They're also a great way to preserve the harvest. So, say you've got an apple tree and you've made apple pie, you've made jam, you've made wine, you've made everything. Well, you've still got apples, you're sick of eating them. Chop them up, cover them in booze. It's my favorite answer to most problems in life. Chop it up and cover it in booze. So, the easiest way to make a cordial is to have a whole bunch of fruit. Or, if you want to get experimental, vegetables. But I think we'll go with fruit for the simple things. I'm going to make cranberry cordial here in a minute. We're going to turn and you're going to see the action. But first, wanted to talk about the fruit part. Cordials are basically no meat. Yeah, no, I haven't tried the meat cordial yet, but maybe that one's on the list. Bacon. Actually, I have seen bacon cordial. Bacon-infused vodka. So there you go. Cucumber whiskey. That's a great suggestion. I would actually probably really enjoy that. But you can do it because basically a cordial is ingredient plus sugar plus booze plus time equals delicious. So whether it's bacon or cucumbers or, you know, whatever you've got laying around, you're making the essence of that main ingredient. So say that you're super into apples. Well, then you've got apples, sugar, booze, thyme, and you're going to pull out that essence of apple-y flavor. And that's basically, you know, the awesome part of it. So one thing about apples to consider is do not use the cores and seeds in your cordial because the seeds contain arsenic, and since we're putting booze on them and that pulls out different properties of the fruit, avoid the arsenic unless, you know, that's kind of what you're into. You didn't get that from me when the cops come and knock on your door. Same with cherries, peaches, pitted fruit. They've got cyanide in the pits. I have made a cherry pit cordial. There are places that do that, but it's for taking tiny, tiny sips of. Hold on. Here's one of my favorite cordial glasses. It's so tiny. I use this for you know, I'll fill that and pass it around the room. Cheers, Joe. But, you know, a little bit goes a long way with cordials. If you think of vanilla extract or mint extract, that's basically just that flavor plus booze. So you can absolutely not add sugar, but I mean, I really enjoy the sweet part of it. Sugar brings out flavors. So that's the basics there. So cordial, ingredient plus sugar plus booze plus time equals delicious. Haha, we're flipping the script now. So when I make a cordial, it's basically, I get a jar. Jars are my favorite thing. I think that's right. And I'm making cranberry cordial today, so I don't have to cut anything up. I just have a bag of cranberries. Now, if you are chopping up fruit to make a cordial, you're going to want to mince it, chop it very, very fine, because the more surface area the alcohol touches, the more flavor it gets out. So mince whatever you're doing up very fine, whether it's bacon, you weirdos. We were talking about bacon earlier. So in this case, I'm going to use my super awesome canning funnel and add some cranberries to this jar. So that's the fruit part. You'll note that I did not add all of the cranberries because you just start off with throwing a little in, and if you're doing something like berries or anything hard, grapes, blackberries, you're going to have to get the juice out. So that's going to be a little bit of this sort of action. I love making cordials. It helps if you picture someone you don't like in the bottom of the jar. And the next part is sugar. It was ingredient plus sugar. Now, the reason we do it this, I do it this way. You can use honey, you can use stevia, xylitol, whatever kind of sugar you prefer. But white sugar, Chris asks, can we be lazy and use a blender for this part? Well, fine. If you don't have a lot of negative energy to get out, sure, but I enjoy the smashing part. But you add a little bit in, and then I add sugar on top. White sugar will pull the juice out of the fruit. It makes its own sauce. So, smash, mash, mash. See, that part is so much fun. But you can be lazy like Chris and use a blender. I've got, don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it here. You got a NutriBullet, and I love that thing. If you're doing something like apples, something like oranges, lemon slices, whatever other fruit you've got, if it's already kind of juicy, you don't have to smash it unless that's what you like to do. Talon asks, would raw sugar work the same? It might. I have not tried the large grains, large crystal raw sugar. I've only done that as syrups. They make a delicious syrup, but this is regular granulated sugar. I guess if you took the big crystallized sugar and put it in a blender or something, a coffee grinder, that might well do it. I think it's the granulated part that helps draw out the liquid. So I'm going to give this a shake. And it's okay that there's lots of still white sugar in it. That's not going to hurt anything. And cranberries are really tart, so I like having a lot of sugar in there. So the thing about cordials is we're going to be preserving it in alcohol. Alcohol draws out the flavors, draws out the color, draws out a lot of the properties of the things you're using if you're using medicinal herbs. For example, I'm going to use some cloves. I'm going to make this a spiced cranberry cordial. And I'm only using 1, 2, 3 whole cloves for this entire thing, because cloves are, no joke, strong flavor. I'm going to use some star anise. And I've never made this exact recipe before. This is just one of those I walked around, decided what flavors I thought were going to be good together, got them together, play with it, be creative. So star anise, let's see, and cinnamon. Why not cinnamon sticks? This is going to be delicious on Christmas morning in a cup of tea, maybe. So now that the sugar is on the fruit, I'm just going to set this aside for a little bit and let it sit, because you don't have to cover it. I'm just not tend to lose lids if I don't do that. Let it sit aside for a bit and it'll draw the juice out of the fruit. In the meantime, I can answer questions if anyone has any specific questions. Or I'll go on to talking about the kinds of booze you can use to make your cordials. So, booze. I tend to use vodka or moonshine for my cordials, because if you're getting good moonshine, at least, and if you're getting decent vodka, they don't have a lot of their own flavor. So whatever you're adding it to gets gives the drink its flavor. I've had moonshine that tasted like gasoline, and I wouldn't make any cordials out of that. Maybe use it for like dissolving glue. But so for things like this is a citrus one I've got that we're going to be straining a little bit later. It's just chopped up lemons and tangerines, and it's in vodka. You could also use white rum. That one is a great cordial making thing, because it's like, again, not much flavor of its own. Talon asks if I would qualify Everclear as moonshine. Yeah, technically, it's mass-produced, but I use that a lot for the medicinal tinctures I make, just because it's got that higher alcohol content. It draws more out, especially if you're working with roots or hard herbs, things you would have to grind up, like a dandelion root or dried ginseng or something like that. And really the only difference between medicinal tinctures and cordials, as I define them, is the addition of sugar, something to make it more palatable. Booze. That's the white liquors. We talked about the white liquors. Rum, moonshine, vodka, those all work well. Gin. I'm not fond of gin, but I know a lot of people who enjoy it. But then the brown liquors. I like using Captain Morgan's spiced rum to infuse apples with, or with which to infuse apples. The spiced rum and apples has a magnificent flavor. Brandy is also a good choice for cordials, especially the richer, darker flavors. Making vanilla extract. All it is vanilla beans and booze. I've done vodka and I've done brandy. And the sweet, rich flavor of brandy just took that vanilla over the moon. So the alcohol changed the experience a lot. So that's the thing. Once you start making cordials, you will just get blown away by the different options you've got. You could do anything. For example, bitters. The hipster cocktail craze. Hi, Kim. You should make vanilla extract. I one time had some tangerines and I ate them. And I had all these peels left over and they just smelled like heaven. So I took the tangerine peels and put them in a jar with a teaspoon of black pepper and some vodka. And now I've got tangerine black pepper bitters. for adding to cocktails, or if you've got a stomach upset, just a little nip of it. Any sort of bitters will help with that. And so, you know, you can really boost your cocktail game by making your own bitters. So let's see here. It's kind of getting it's hard to tell. Maybe you'll see the juice is starting to get pulled out by the sugar. You'll see the sugar's turned red on the bottom of the jar. So I'm going to open this up and smash this some more. I also know people who have made cordials out of tequila, but I am allergic to agave, and so I have not had a lot of experience with that myself. Now, there is another way you can do cordials without the smashing. If you just took without the sugar, sorry. I've had wormwood sitting on 151 for 5 years now, waiting for the green fairy. Absinthe, yes. Well, I'm going to make a side note about absinthe. That I found out is a completely different beast. Absinthe, you have to ferment the wormwood itself as you would a beer or a mead or a wine, and then distill that to get true absinthe. Having the wormwood on the booze is great, and it still has the wormwood properties, but it's not officially absinthe. I have a bottle of that in my cabinet labeled as not quite absinthe. And again, because of the bitters, I use it for stomach upset more than for the green fairy effects. It definitely packs a punch. Booze types, ingredient, sugar, booze. Oh, the different technique. If you put your herbs or your fruits in the jar and just cover them with vodka without doing the sugar at all, you can just do that, label it, let it sit in your cabinet for a moon cycle or 6 weeks or so, strain it, and then add sugar to taste, sugar syrup to taste. You can do that as a sweetening method if you're worried about adding sugar during a step where you can't taste things. You can do it that way instead. Chartreuse is good for upset tummies as well. Yes, Michael, it is. And hello, how are you? Now, I'm going to scroll over here for a second. Bear with me. I'm going to find... Well, I'll just wait and do it later. I have my elixirs, tinctures, and cordials post that I made years ago. I'll share that in the comments of this page later, and I'll be sure, like I said, this is going up on YouTube later with links to different resources and books and reference material if you want to, delve further. Let's see here. Well, while this cranberry is working, I'm going to get on to the straining part. Because after you have let the booze and the fruit sit and do its thing, given it time to work, it's time to strain it and enjoy it. So this is citrus. We went to Florida and visited Eric's mom, and we got, we found a citrus grove, and we picked some fruit, and I got some oranges, and Eric got a lemon. And it turns out, when I cut them up, the one that looked just like an orange, see, was the lemon, which is fun when you take a whole bite and find that out. And the one that looked like a lemon was a tangerine. So that was fun. So Talon asked how long is left to work. Most tinctures or cordials, you could go after a week. You could strain them if you had, you know, some people just do a couple days. I have gotten fuller flavors and just a deeper experience if I leave it sit for at least a month. And the thing about the citrus that's fun is you get the bitters from the peels. So this is not just going to be the fruit that was layered with sugar. It's not just like boozy orange juice yet. So what I do for straining, where did I put this spare jar? Well, luckily I'm in my kitchen so I can adapt. Okay, here's that nifty canning funnel. I cannot iterate enough about how much I love this thing because it fits into the small jars, it fits into wide mouth jars, and I'm really, really messy, and I'm really, really clumsy, and this thing has saved my life. So for straining, these things are fantastic. Just a normal kitchen strainer. Ooh, let me show you this one real quick, since we're talking about strainers. We found this in a thrift store. It took us a little while to really fully get what I had going on here, but it's this wooden stand and this muslin bag on a wire. And so you just put the jar under it and strain through. It's not exactly the most sensible design I've ever met, but I was enchanted by it, so I had to show you. So we've got, so this kind of strainer will do a decent job. It's got a lot of holes in it. Probably a lot of these little orange bits are going to get through the strainer and into the cup. I don't mind that so much, but if you don't like chunky bits in your cordials, I will sometimes take old clean rags. This is an old tapestry that got sun bleached and got holes in it, and so I cut it up into rags. And this kind of cotton fabric is great for straining out chunks. So now I'm going to just pour this cordial into the strainer. And all the fruit goes into the rag. Now, a nice part about the rag is that you can then just kind of bundle it up and squeeze out the remaining juice. My washerwoman arms. So now you're left over with all these orange and lemon peels. You could throw them in your compost and make your possums drunk. Or you could dry them in a dehydrator, grind them up, and make a citrus spice blend with salt and pepper. I've done that before. For now, I'm just going to set it to the side and figure that part out later. So, now I have this delicious citrus cordial and a tiny cup. Cheers! It's just that easy. I wish you could taste this. It's got, it's like limoncello. It's got a little bit of bitterness, but it's got the bright citrus flavor. So you see how easy this is. It takes a little bit of time in the making, a lot of time ignoring it, and then a little bit of time in straining and bottling. And that's it. I've done things like, I got a tiny harvest of crab apples this year, so I just chopped them up and made a crab apple cordial with vodka. That one's still working. I opened it about 2 weeks ago. I didn't like the flavor, so I put some spices in, and now it's sitting again. It's just completely up to your taste. Hi, Deborah. Oh, another thing. I've talked a lot about doing infused honeys, herb-infused honeys, electuaries. Once I'm done straining the honey out of these herbs, I've got these honey-soaked herbs. What can I do with them? I'll just have to put them in a jar and cover them with booze. So here I have honey-soaked lemon balm and goldenrod covered in vodka. Now that's only been in for probably a week or two, so I'm not even ready to test that one yet, but I'm really excited about it. It'll be sweet, that part is for sure. Oh, and since Talon had asked how long left to work, how long to leave the cordials to work, I just found this Pomegranate Cordial. Kind of gross looking, it looks like beans. This Pomegranate Cordial has been in this jar for over a year. I just had it in the back of my cabinet, and well, let's see what that's like. It's delicious. It tastes like pomegranates. That's the thing. The vodka is such an excellent preservative that odds are it's going to be delicious. So that's the basics of cordial making. Put something in booze. Leave it alone. Make it sweet if you want it sweet. Bam. One of the things that I cannot reiterate enough is labeling. I am a terrible labeler. And when you have to stash things away for months on end, when you shove that jar in your cabinet, you know what's in there, and you're never going to forget it. When you take that cabinet, that jar out of the cabinet, you have no idea what's in that jar. And sometimes your tongue can't tell you. I have 2 or 3 bottles in my cabinet labeled Mystery Cordial that I generally don't feed my guests because I can't tell them what's in it. Michael asked, is there a combo I thought that was going to work that ended up horrible? Oh gosh, what are some of the fails? It wasn't really a planned combo. I did a cordial making workshop where people all brought different things that they could put in to their jars and different boozes to try, and it was just kind of a little community DIY thing. I thought when it was all over it might be neat when I was cleaning up to go around and put just a little bit of everything in one jar. So that included fresh strawberries, anise, some fennel, fresh mint, lavender, all sorts of crazy fruit, and it ended up just tasting like some cough syrup a really cruel grandmother would give you, like with all the anise and all the spices in it. If you need like a slap in the face, a little nip of that will do it. It's I mean, because I still have it. I can't throw anything out. It's just not something I drink for fun. So let's see, what else did I have? Making sure I didn't miss anything exciting. Oh, herbal cordials. You can use herbs to make cordials. So if you've had creme de menthe, that's basically made out of Corsican mint. I mean, and many other things, and that's why it's all creamy, but just the vanilla cordials are delicious. Another thing you can do is make tea cordial. One of my most popular ones to share is my Earl Grey cordial. So for just a normal jelly jar, you take that, fill it with, put in 2 or 3 Earl Grey tea bags, and then just cover with vodka and just let it sit until you get around to messing with it again, and add sugar to taste, and it is delicious. If it's too, if you make a cordial and it's too strong, like it's not sweet enough and the alcohol flavor is still very, very present, add a little more sugar, add a little more sugar syrup, and the water will help dilute it. That's a tip that I learned. Another tea cordial, you could make chai tea cordial. You can make green tea cordial, like matcha. Anything you like. I have done, what was I going to say? I made a Damiana cordial. So, Damiana is an herb that's very popular among my frolicky pagan friends. And it is, Talon asked about nut cordials. I'll get to that in a second. So, the Damiana cordial, Damiana has a very floral, woody flavor, kind of like a sandalwood or something. So I made Damiana vanilla bean, you know, just almost like you're just making a tincture, just the herbs and whatever ingredients, about dry herbs about up to here, and the rest vodka. You could do that with mint. So according to this, I'm going up to the 100 milliliter mark, or the, I think that's quarter cup mark. Yeah, quarter cup mark on one of these. Or third, it's hard to read. But the bottom line, I'm terrible at measurements. I'm all pinches and grabs and handfuls. So, Talon asked about nut cordials. I do not have a lot of experience with those myself. Both nuts and coconuts have the same issue, though, from what I have read, and that is the oils that are in the nuts. So, I've done a coconut cordial, toasted coconut, and it was delicious, but when straining it, it took more than just this guy and a rag. It took a couple rags. If you really, really, really want your cordial to be clear, you can use coffee filters as your strainer. You will lose more cordial that way, just for the nature of the absorbency of the filter, but if you really like it clear, no floaty bits, that's the way to go. And that's the way to get out the oils in the coconut. It took many, many strainings to get that, to not have that layer of oil on top, because it doesn't exactly shake up into the booze. Now, what would work with that hazelnut, there is a really, really awesome and weird method that I thought was going to be horrible, that turned it out to be delicious. You take equal parts milk, sugar, and vodka. You don't have to add any ingredients. You could use just those 3 things in one jar, just equal parts. You shake it up, put it away, ignore it, just accept the fact it's going to look gross when you go back to it. It's not near as gross as you think it's going to be. The milk fats go to the top, and you strain this booze after like 10 days. You strain all the milk fat off. There's nothing that smells rotten. There's no chunks left over, and your booze is creamy. It's kind of yellowish and translucent, but it is deliciously creamy. So I've done a toasted coconut that way. Sarah and I once did dreamsicle with oranges and vanilla beans. And because that's going to take a ton of straining anyway, the coconut wasn't a big deal in that case. So you just would do the equal parts milk, sugar, and vodka. If you wanted to put in vanilla beans or orange or hazelnuts or whatever, and then let it sit, let it work for 10 days, and then strain it. And it takes a little more work than the kind of cordials we've been doing today, but it's delicious. It's kind of worth it. I will say, even though you're starting out with equal parts of, say this whole jar worth, after you're done straining it, you're going to lose almost half. So it's kind of worth it to do a big batch when you do. A big thing of sugar, big thing of milk, big thing of vodka, especially if you intend to give it as gifts, and make it worth all the time. But yeah, the milk cordials are interesting. I've done lemon balm cordials. That one's nice for a sad day. And it also has the herbal quality of being uplifting. Chris said that sounds awesome. I want to do a strawberry cream one and was considering adding Damiana to that. And I'm going to put Damiana in everything. I'm going to check in on our cranberry cordial so far. And you see more and more of the juice is being absorbed by the sugar. It's going all very red. I'm going to smash it some more. And does anyone have any questions? Any concerns? Want to know more about any aspect I haven't covered, or anything I touched on and forgot to talk about, because that's likely. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and grab the booze for this. I'll be right back, because I keep it in the freezer. So, I tend to use Smirnoff, just because I'm not a vodka fan, and this one doesn't taste like anything, so that's kind of why I go for it. So I'm going to just pour up to the top, and then just kind of make sure I can get through all the sugar and berries. And if you're interested in doing the cranberries, they are probably on sale between now and Christmas, and on super sale after Christmas, just FYI. So Talon asks for good cordials for chronic pain. That's a tough one, or tinctures, because chronic pain can come from so many different places. One thing that I have recently learned about is a friend gave us, or at the herb swap I did recently, pedicularis, which it's one of the plants known as wood betony. Hi Shaman, I'm making cranberry cordial and at this point rambling, but holler if you have any questions. So Talon, the pedicularis is a non-narcotic, non-narcotic kind of muscle relaxer. It's not super strong. It's not like what you expect from taking prescription muscle relaxers, but it does help ease up some of the super tight situations. It's been helpful for my hip and Eric as well. Also, one thing that people don't realize is that California poppy has pain relieving properties. It's completely legal to grow, at least it is in Virginia and in North Carolina. California poppy, the whole plant as it grows, once it hits the making seeds, you can just chop it up. I put it in with spiced rum, and I just take a dropper full if I'm super owy. For the fibromyalgia, give a try with turmeric. Look up turmeric and see if you feel like it would apply to the kind of pain that you have. I know some people it upsets their tummy, so it's one of those things to balance. Let's see. And since we are talking about booze, and you asked about pain and chronic fibromyalgia and all that sort of thing, water, 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 and not so much booze. Just had to get that herbalist cred in there. So, let's see. Do I have any else fun in here? Oh! Connie Young says she makes a turmeric, ginger, and black pepper tincture for pain. That sounds delicious. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory. Turmeric and black pepper kind of activate each other. I made an infused honey recently called Sunshine Honey that had all those ingredients, Connie, plus ashwagandha for the mental lift and brain power. So another kind of extract, and not quite cordial because I haven't been sweetening them, that I've been playing with is, for the love of trees, tree extracts. So in this pretty Jägermeister bottle with the stag on it, you might be able to see through, I can't tell, there's an oak leaf in there. This spring, at our old home, the beautiful giant oak tree that lived there dropped a spring growth twig in my hands. And so I mean, it never touched the ground, so I ran inside and put vodka on it, because that's what I do with everything. So yeah, this is essence of oak. It's very tannic, like tea, high in tannins, but it's rather delicious. It's kind of like hugging a tree. It's gonna say like hugging a tree, but with your mouth, and now we're getting into a different topic. I also had a beautiful Colorado spruce out in the backyard there. I went out and got a bunch of little spring green twigs from the spruce and some sap, and put that in the vodka. Now it's super duper strong. It smells like pine sol. It kind of tastes like it too. It's like licking a Christmas tree. Essence of spruce. So, not all trees are edible, but many of them are. You can use oak leaves in your pickles. Don't go Julia Child on us. You'll be fun by the end of the broadcast. Here's Pear Cordial to Julia. If you've ever seen My Drunk Kitchen, I have considered the Drunken Pixie broadcast, so don't count that out. So here, I've got checking in on the Cranberry Cordial. It's still got all the sugar in the bottom, but that's okay. Just shake it every now and then. I haven't labeled it yet. If you missed the part about labeling earlier, label your cordials. Especially once the fruits go soft and everything blurs together, you'll forget what you made if you start making a lot of things. So we're getting close. We're like at the last 10 minutes. I can't believe I've been rambling for an hour. I'm so appreciative of all you guys being here and watching and commenting and stuff. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Let's see. I'm going to aim doing one of these every month or so. We'll see how that goes. Also want to know your preference between here on Facebook or on YouTube. Apparently I can also live stream to YouTube, as I'm figuring out all the technology here. So, thank you, Connie. So let me know if any of you have any strong preferences between Facebook or YouTube as a platform. Facebook. Okay. One way or another, these will be posted on YouTube for the people who did not, who don't do the Facebook thing, which I totally respect. Probably with less blah blah blah, maybe cut down to the material. Raspberries are your preference? Would I peel apples or pears? Monty, that's a great question. I have not peeled apples or pears, but I have tasted a cordial that was made with peeled apples. The peeled apple cordial had much less flavor than the apples with peels, and I think that's just that slightly bitter or tart quality depending on the apple. I think it made a big difference. And the pear cordial I made this year was just chopped pears layered with sugar in the jar, like a handful of pears, little tablespoon of sugar, handful of pears, tablespoon of sugar, and it was delicious. And I think that the skins contributed to a fuller flavor. Alright, well, looks like you guys are overwhelmingly for Facebook, so that's probably what I will keep doing. Let's see. So I will continue to do them here on Facebook and make event pages. Then I'll make sure to post them on Pixie's Pocket. So if you're not already following Pixie's Pocket, you should. You can also subscribe to my newsletter for updates. I'll have all of that posted in the comments here in a little bit. Aw, thank you, Michael, for the referrals to the site. I want to empower other people to make their own medicines and things. I think that's an important part of our culture that's overlooked. Christine asks if I have any experience in using maple syrup as the sweetener. Yes, it's delicious, but it doesn't do the same thing as, if you saw at the beginning, the cane sugar draws the juice out of the fruit, but if you're doing something like, if I did chopped apples or chopped pears, let's go with Connie's recipe there, apple with cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom. I would just pour maybe, depending on how sweet it is, 1/8 of a cup of maple syrup in a jar this size, as well as and I would probably use a brown liquor for that personally. Although vodka would be good. But yeah, I mean, just, you could do the same with honey. You know, if you don't want to do cane sugar, you can add honey. It's just gonna be thicker. Honey makes a much more cloying experience than the white sugar does, just texture-wise. And also, if you add the sweeteners before you strain, it makes the straining process messier. So you could always just put the fruit and booze in and use the maple syrup later to taste, would be my advice. That's what I do with honey. And that recipe sounds awesome, Connie, for the apple kombucha, but I've never made kombucha. I feel like everyone assumes I do. I've only just started liking kombucha. And I live, here in Asheville with Bucci around. It's the ginger cordial, or the ginger Bucci. Bye, Shaman. Thanks for stopping in. Enjoy your brownies. So, we're drawing to a close. I guess there's a couple reference books I can suggest if you're interested in learning more about different techniques. My own techniques were advanced by these two books specifically. One is Artisan Drinks by Lindy Wildsmith. And hold on a second, I can post a link to that in the comments right now, I think. And haha, there's one of them. And the other is Wild Drinks and Cocktails by Emily Hahn, and she's also with Learning Herbs, which is a great site. Connie offered to send a SCOBY. That's awesome. I've been considering doing a live culture sort of exchange because I've got more vinegar mothers than I know what to do with. So that would be a neat thing to do. I'll keep that in mind, and I'll post about that if I figure out how to do it. So I guess we're at about the 5-minute mark, you guys. I really appreciate you all coming here and hanging out with me tonight. And here's a hug. Yay! I will definitely be doing this again, and I will keep everyone posted. And if you have suggestions for the next theme, I'm open to hearing those. I want to know what you guys want to know about, so that you're here, because you want to be. So let me know what you want to learn about, and I will see what I can do about sharing that with you guys. So, hugs, Leah, hugs. Well, thank you for playing, everybody. I think I'm going to go, and I look forward to seeing you all again in person and in Pixel when we can. Slán!